This segment is on hormones and normal blood pressure and blood volume, and how the body helps to maintain homeostasis and keep the blood pressure in a normal range. So we'll talk about what happens when homeostasis is disturbed, in other words, when blood pressure and blood volume start to fall. This can happen for a number of reasons. It could happen because a person is dehydrated. It could happen because a person has had a wound and is losing fluid that way. It can happen if a person is ill and is throwing up or has diarrhea and is losing fluid that way. The first thing that happens is that the kidney becomes aware of this falling blood pressure and volume. In other words, the blood that's flowing into the kidney has lower volume, and there's also a lower oxygen content in this blood. At this point, the kidney will secrete two different hormones. The kidney will secrete a hormone called erythropoietin, and will also secrete a hormone called renin. Now, erythropoietin will target the bone marrow, and it will cause the bone marrow to produce more red blood cells. When more red blood cells are produced, that means that the volume of blood will increase, and that also means that there are more red blood cells to carry oxygen molecules, and so the oxygen content will also increase. When renin is secreted, it will cause a cascading event of hormones, starting with angiotensinogen, which will become converted to angiotensin 1, which will become modified to angiotensin 2, which will stimulate the secretion of two hormones, antidiuretic hormone, which gets secreted from the posterior pituitary, and aldosterone, which gets secreted by the adrenal cortex. The combination of aldosterone and ADH will restrict the loss of salt and water at the kidneys. In other words, ADH will cause the body to retain water and not excrete it out in the form of urine, and aldosterone will cause the kidneys to reabsorb sodium and not to excrete it out in the urine. By retaining water and reabsorbing sodium, the water content in the body will increase, and blood pressure and blood volume will again be stabilized. In the case where blood pressure and blood volume start to rise, which may occur with high blood pressure or other cardiovascular disease, the heart will start to detect more pressure against the walls of the inside of the heart because of the rising blood pressure and the rising blood volume. In this case, the heart will then release a hormone called Natriuretic Peptide, and the natriuretic peptides will do the opposite effect in the kidney and cause the kidneys to act as a diuretic and excrete more water in the form of urine. By doing this, the blood pressure will then fall as more water leaves the body.